hearsay. They say, oh, you haven't met the threshold. So we got them dismissed at the outset. Gives us a couple of these, court-ordered inspections, and only a couple of trials. We had chain of custody problems, infrastructure system problems, tracing the map. You've got an anatomy of a coup. You then fund the opposition. You take out the people who are going to be whistleblowers. They went after Trump. They went after Charlie Kirk. They went after us. You destroy the economy. The media takes over, and you create chaos. So they chronicle all of the attack vectors. We've gone through all of them here to give us a detail on how this works. And here you see, look at all of these various entries. In Arizona, we had 390,000 unverifiable registrants. In Arizona, 20-year MVD citizenship verification system failure, 98,000 unverified registrants. We had ghost voters, 96,000 mail ballots attributed to unknown persons in Arizona. In Fulton County, the registration rate was 113.8% of the citizen population. In Georgia, 200,000 attributed to ineligible addresses like warehouses. GBI, organized voter registration fraud, 8 to 10,000 fraudulent forms. They bypassed validation systems. Voting from the grave in Wayne County, 333 active Wayne County voters over 115 years old. And a lot of it, like they're saying this is established on these. Here, another one, unknown mail ballots that were untrackable exceeded the margin of victory in this one, 400,000 established. Voter roll anomalies of 1,500 centenarians, established fact. In Wisconsin, over 500,000 active voters with identical registration applications, established fact. Indefinitely confined status abuse, major surges, established fact. Intelligence community, hid, that's the one we talked about, that the Chinese government manufactured and imported fake driver's licenses for elections. Established fact, it's on the internet right now, you can go look it up. In Georgia, they had 103% turnout. Fulton County had 113% voting population registered. And Arizona could not identify 58% of voters as real humans, an unestablished fact. So the report is very much appreciated, and they consolidate them into another 800 or so pages. And so, of course, we're going to continue to keep our eye on this and process this and incorporate this into our knowledge bank. But just this detail alone shows you, and we should have had something like this from Congress. We should have had something like this from CISA, something like this from the FBI, or other individuals that actually are connected to the government to provide us a report, but unfortunately we don't have that. So the next best thing is Mike Lindell, who's chronicling all of this. This report must have taken, I don't even know how long. They destroyed records and covered it up. Chain of custody problems, missing ballot images in Georgia, hundreds of thousands of ballots gone. So you can't actually check. There is no audit. So the whole thing, obviously, is worthy of fixing, which is why we want the SAVE Act to be passed, and we hope that happens very, very soon. And so we're going to keep our eye on this one. Thank you for joining and subscribing as we do. All right, so friends, we in about 6 minutes, we're going to head over to America's Untold Stories and get into it with them. So let me say thank you so much for these super chats, and then we'll be making our way over there. We had a couple of very nice ones come in. Thank you for sending these in. And on the John Walrus situation, we see McGarvey says he's going to get 160 to 180 days. Good prediction. Shane says, Chief of Police just flipped a car and rolled over multiple times, cut out and refused the breathalyzer and drug test, whole liter of vodka found in the car, no charges. Well, it's good to be a police chief. What's going on? That one. John Bolton pleads guilty to failing to store his stolen classified documents in his garage, like Joe Biden did. Tim Jake, I wonder if part of the Bolton plea deal negotiated was to keep his wife and daughter from being charged. They cited emails and asked if there would be more diary info. They knew it was classified. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what he gets. Thanks for the dono, Tim. Hey, Sharpie Guy. Rob, it's pretty easy to think all the money came from the Democrats or flush. Probably came from NGOs' kickbacks. There was a lot of money just flowing from everywhere, and all of these creeps got their turn-in money grabbing game. It's absolutely pathetic how corrupted America has become. Right? Right. Thank you, Sharpie Guy. Michelle, hey, Rob, didn't the Supreme Court already rule against these nationwide injunctions? It did. It was the CASA case. But the judges are saying they're being sneaky about it. They're saying we're not issuing this nationwide, just the federal government can't do this thing. So it's not a nationwide injunction that is for a whole class of people. It's just stopping one specific procedure that was implemented by the feds that they'll impose across the nation. But it's everywhere. It's not only in this one state. So, Joe, the League of Women Voters shall henceforth be called the Leaguey Ouija's. I like it, Joe. Thank you for the donut. Hey, what's up? The original Kelly Sue. Hey, thank you for being on top of all of this. I feel the tides are turning, man. We are getting some good energy. Enjoy the 250th in DC. How exciting, man. We're excited. I just ordered so many American flag shirts and American flag shorts and American flag headbands and all the things. I'm getting lit for the 4th. It's going to be great. Hey, John Carew, keep up the good work. Thank you, John. Not a Fed. Whoa, copy of ID. You know there's ain't no staples near black people, says Kamala Harris. She literally said something to that effect. She said something like, you know how difficult it is to go out if you're in a rural location to get a copy done? Not really, because it's 2026. Jason, what's up? 13 months is a memo. Hey, thanks for keeping us all well informed. Thank you, Jason. Thanks for being here for 13 months. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks for bringing in 10 new memos, Jason. And a PSA tomorrow morning, our members only stream on Saturday is going to be very early. Probably too early for some of you West Coasters. But 8:30 Eastern time is, I think, where we'll go live. But what's up, Marilyn, Miss Jaslyn, Mike Reyes, we got Francesca, Mr. Biff, Brittany, Cliff Victoria, Sar, Rip, KF, we got Kathleen, good to see you, and Charles Stanley, all in the house. And friends, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for squeezing those in. Sorry I had to race through them so quickly. But I think we're going to continue to talk about this stuff over at America's Untold Story. So that's going to be good. Links are... Actually, if you're on YouTube, it'll send you over there. I think on Locals, we've got the links. What's up, Hardened Patriot? Thank you for that comment. Democrats are breaking with the socialists. It's good news from Hardened Patriot. Rick D with the Charlie Kirk update and Tyler Robinson case, and the Chief Justice, according to Rick D, just made the contempt citations against Catherine Herridge. Very nice, very good stuff. All right, crazy KPM. John Bolton's a traitor. It seems like he gave classified information over to the Iranians, so that was not good. All right, so friends, again, sorry for us getting out of here so quickly, but we wanted to get as much in as we could. Now we're heading over to America's Untold Stories, and so I think they're kicking off in just a few minutes, and so we will send you over there if you're on YouTube, if you're on Locals. We've also got the link shared down below. Let's see if we've got any other comments here on X, and then we'll wrap. Neuro D, great to see you, man. Neuro D, good to see you. Thank you for sharing that. B-Torn shared this one. Speaker Johnson is sending Congress home. Thank you for that. And Off-Label Pod has hit 1,000 subscribers. Man, that's great. So good to see you, B-Torn. All right, so we'll pause here. We're going to head on over to America's Untold Stories. YouTube, hang tight. It should auto-magically transfer you over there. Then we'll be there. Your boy is going to go refresh himself, and then we'll be right back. But it's been a beautiful Friday. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being a part of the show. Thanks for liking our channel and this video before you head out of here, and for subscribing if you haven't already done that. If you want to come join us and continue to talk about this stuff, then we'll see you in just a few minutes.
We should have just done this tomorrow on Saturday because he had to be to work. 5:30. He's just not getting to work. So. Plus, it kept disconnecting at that dealership, so I just ended it.
And I'm a little nervous about it. but it's going to be good. So we'll come back. We'll see you then. Thanks to our mods and Meme Smiths. We got
how'd your meeting go?
Donut Mind Me. We got John McGarvey, KB and Carrie B, Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger, Deacon Giga, Elliot, Just Rhonda, all modding the
Yeah, doing okay.
Keeping things nice and orderly.
Possibly we're gonna just do it at the regular dealership. Fucking everybody's dropping below the speed limit because we're passing a cop. Yes, he's still there. Just getting frustrated. Put it on Hannity for a minute while this. Apparently, this started an hour ago, so over an hour and a half ago. Come back to Robert in a second.
Fight or flight. Love them or send them back, but trust me, you won't want to.
Go to CozyEarth.com and use code MUSIC to save up to 20%. That's CozyEarth.com, code MUSIC. Charles Green here with a message for investors, traders, and anyone counting on a retirement nest egg. We've entered a new era where enormous wealth will be created. AI and the space gold rush are reshaping everything at breakneck speed. And as an investor, you need to use that change to your advantage. It's astonishing how much wealth will be generated in individual stocks over the next few years. But too many people still treat the market like a single passive entity.
I'm going to go a lot earlier tomorrow. Come back up here again. We saw one that we're really interested in. Just wrapping it into a new loan is going to be a pain in the butt.
Strategies I use for individual stock investing, and today is my gift to you. For your free copy of Unbreakable Investor, text the word NEWS to 505-505. Text NEWS to 505-505. Text NEWS to 505-505. Just cover shipping. Message and data rates may apply.
Pet owners and parents know the struggle. Every time dogs or kids go outside, they track mud right back in. If you're tired of scrubbing floors, you need Muddy Mat, the anti-mud mat that cleans paws and shoes before they ruin your home. Only Muddy Mat features thousands of ultra-soft microfibers that are 5 times more absorbent than ordinary mats, instantly trapping dirt and water to protect your floors. Put it by every door, under pet holes, in the kitchen for spills, and
People
even
wanted to
makes a
roll up
perfect
my butt
outlet.
and now they're
And
getting back.
100%
Okay, it's
machine
fine.
washable, so cleanup is effortless. Since getting Muddy Mat, I don't worry about what my dog gets into. No more mopping. Thank you, Muddy Mat. Amazon Prime Days are here, and Muddy Mat has one of the best deals. Search Muddy Mat, MUDDYMAT on Amazon, and grab yours before Prime Day ends. Prime members get same-day delivery in most metros. Muddy Mat is the #1 dog mat on Amazon, with over 50,000 reviews averaging 4.7 stars. MUDDYMAT on Amazon now.
We, the people of the United States, history in American history. On 23rd, 1972, President Richard Nixon signs Title IX into law, prohibiting sex discrimination in federally funded education programs. And on June 22nd, 1944, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signs the GI Bill, expanding education and housing opportunities for returning veterans. Counting down to America 250, only on Sirius XM Dixie 125. David Webb, America's evolution over 250 years is part of our celebration. What we do next as a country, what you do next as an American matters. It's about we the people. That's where the power begins. That's where the power continues. That's where the future lies for America. The David Webb Show, weekdays from 9 a.m. to noon Eastern on Sirius XM Patriot. Freedom never gets old. This is Sirius XM Patriot, channel 125. Breaking news straight from the source. This is the Sean Hannity Show.
And I'm Jason Chief. It's filling in for Sean. What's happening in the world as we come up here? What an incredible.
Yeah, I was looking at an Equinox forum. Slightly used.
We're going to take your calls. So you can call in 800-941-SEAN. 800-941-SEAN. That's 7326. If you can't spell Sean. 800-941-7326. I want to take your calls. I also want to talk a little bit about drones, because I do think they pose an incredible threat to the country. I also want to talk about AI and AI classes. So we're going to work those two subjects in. But let's get to the phones and let's go to line 2. We got Bob.
Just FYI, it's
What's up?
spelled N-I-K. There's no C. I know you didn't know. It's the N-I-C-K is the common spelling, but it's Nicholas with just a K.
My question concerns John. He has not allowed President Trump to have even a single recess appointment. And that's bizarre. That's the first time it's ever happened. So one, why has he done it? I don't expect you'll know, but I also want to know why nobody's asked him about it. It's weird.
Yeah, you're right about the lack of questioning of this. Look, John Thune, he was elected by, this is the way I started the program, right? It started by saying, look, Republicans need to do what Republicans said they were going to do. He is the majority leader because Donald Trump put together a successful campaign and had a mandate, given the overwhelming vote that he got from coast to coast, winning by millions upon millions. And part of what they wanted to do is to restore common sense and to do certain things like protecting our border and making sure life is simple and secure. And guess what? In part of delivering that, you have the Save America Act, which would just a simple thing require voter identification. And yet somehow, some way, he can't figure out how in the world to bring this up. And if it fails, bring it up again and again and again. And it's so frustrating because we have a majority leader that needs to figure out creatively how to actually do this. The House of Representatives, give credit to those House Republicans for actually passing it multiple times. And then when it comes to actually getting people on the president's appointments list, to getting them, you're right, whether they're recess appointments or we move them through faster and quicker, yeah, there are democratic tools that they could do in the minority to slow the process down. But Bob, I think you bring up a great question. Why not go into recess and allow the recess appointments to happen? I don't understand. It's a legitimate question the media needs to ask. I really do.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate you. At least think about it. If you would pass that along to some reporter so they could shoot doing that question, I'd really appreciate it. I want somebody to put them on the spot. That's all. So
that would be great.
Okay.
Thanks, Bob, and good luck there in North Carolina. All right, let's go to line 1. We got Jim in Florida.
Hello.
Hey, how'd it go?
Yeah. Well, you had to be at work at 5:30. So we met we stayed too long at that monster place. They have their own bank, but they don't do in-house financing.
Okay.
And the dealer that we're dealing with at LaFontaine, I mean, we were late getting there, so we could only be there for a few minutes. He thinks he can do something with trading in the Trailblazer. So it's a lot to trade, to pull in. He's thinking we're only going to get $1,000 for it because it's not running. It needs probably a whole new engine.
Yeah.
Because when that timing belt goes out, it kills the engine, I guess. So, but he was trying to put together some rough numbers. Pretty much the most that he could probably spend would be about $25,000. But he wants it to be up near that. But his payment's going to be like over $600.
Yeah.
So I told him the most I could do to help really was, other than my credit, would be $500. Help him with the down payment. I said, I really don't want to have to make payments on a car that isn't running. Because obviously, if you get something new and we don't trade anything in, you still got to make payments on that thing, even though it's not running.
Right.
Exercise high.
Oh, hey, Exy.
But yeah, so Equinox is actually what we're looking at. So I'm coming back. I'm coming back in the morning. He's off tomorrow night, so, and they're open till like from 10 to 4 tomorrow.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll be able to get something done if I'm running into traffic in Ann Arbor here.
Yeah, are you like going to Trey's or something?
No, I'm already past Steve Road.
Oh, okay. Well, I just saw that you were going like that way, so.
Yeah, to 23.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm meeting Bill and Duke. Duke's going to contribute some money for the purchase.
Oh, okay.
You know who Duke is, right?
The
old Army guy.
Yeah.
That talks your ears off and talks so quiet you can't hear him. And
yeah.
So I'm supposed to be meeting him.
I
was supposed to have left over an hour ago, but I was like, no. But I guess Duke's running late too, so I'm just barely crawling here on 94 now, right by Briarwood. So anyway, it's nice. It's a white Equinox. It's 23, only 23, I think. It's only like 24,000 miles on it. So it's got, those have a ton more room than the Trailblazer does.
Yeah.
We test drove two big ass pickups. I'm like, I'm asking him, I'm like, do you think you're going to get this? I said, I know you don't have that far to go to drive. I said, but first it was an F-150, which wasn't so bad. Then an F-350, which I'm like, big old diesel like he used to have. I'm like, are you going to start plowing again? This has got 120,000 miles on it, dude. I know that diesels, they last long, but we're driving it and it's making a weird noise while he's hitting the brakes, and it's lagging, shifting from second to third. I'm like, dude, we're not doing this. So I said, if you do it on your own, you can do it. I said, but there's no way in hell I'm participating in this. And then he got like the Toyota Highlander that they just got. That, oh no, someone's got their name on it, but they haven't done a deposit yet. So if we put a deposit down today, they'll hold it for us. So I'm like, well, let's test drive it. Reeks of smoke inside of it. The AC is not pumping any cold air. He's like, oh, it hasn't gone to service yet. I'm like, okay, so someone's already buying it, but it hasn't even gone through service yet? Fucking liar, dude. And then I drove straight. I said, no. I said, we got to go to Dexter. He's like, oh, the dealership out there? I'm like, yeah, we're going to talk to them. So, we're not making a purchase today. He goes, well, I can lock this down for you if you leave a deposit. I said, we'll take our chances. It won't be here. Nick kind of looked at me and giggled. I said, oh, we'll take our chances, buddy. So now that motherfucker's going to blow me up. I just thought it was hilarious. Yeah, we'll risk it. But we didn't have time to do. So he's going to have the Equinox out for us and ready to go. So I said, it's a bit of a drive for me. I said, so I got to pick him up in Parma and then drive to Dexter, which is like 40 minutes from Dexter, So we're shooting for around, we'll get through around noon probably. So hopefully before noon. That way, I mean, just one thing after another. He's so mad because he had just put new tires on the Trailblazer.
Oh man.
And then he bought that battery, which of course once you've hooked it up and used it, you can't return it unless it's defective.
Yeah.
So I said, well, that might help with the trade-in though, the new tires. You know. Let's see, but he's thinking that we're only going to get about $1,000 for it because it's not running.
Right.
I looked into it. It's to repair that issue with that ranges from like $3,000 to $6,000 for the repair, depending on if you have to replace the engine or not.
Right.
So I'm just like, it's probably not even fucking worth it, you know. And then he was trying to talk to him about a lease too. I'm just like, I said, well, he doesn't drive much. I said, you know, he was I said, the only thing is, you know, you never know if you get something else, another job, will he be putting a lot of miles on something, you know?
Yeah.
I am stopped on 94. Right at State Street. I still haven't gotten to State Street. I'm almost up to it. I think I stopped and got gas in Jackson's. So you think that's going to help with the floors?
I think I want it for the kitchen.
Yeah, the kitchen and the front.
Yeah.
And the mud area in the front door, right?
Yeah.
That gets bad so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Was it just a couple months ago? I scrubbed the fuck out of that and had it all.
Right. Yeah, and I did it again after you did it. So.
But there's no other place to have that water dish because they slob water all over the place constantly. That's
right.
So we can get this done and maybe get some wood floors in, you know.
Right.
So I think that's more of a priority than any expansion of rooms and stuff like that. Is to back deck wood floors. You know. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it'll make maintaining it a whole lot easier. So we would have to do dining room, living room, hallway, our bedroom. I guess we wouldn't have to do the office really.
Yeah.
I can't imagine having even doing that is going to be a pain in the butt with the entertainment center and everything.
Right.
Moving shit around. I just can't imagine moving those desks around. Being able to maneuver them around just to do the floors in there, you know. Maybe come back and do that later if we decided to rip one of those desks out of there, you know.
Right.
You agree? I mean, well, the cat's room too, probably.
Yeah.
Because that definitely would need to make maintaining that floor a whole lot easier too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yours is already wood in your room in the back, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's where I'm at. You just noticed I was heading east, so you're like, oh, he must be done.
Yeah. So you're going to Reds?
I don't know yet. I told him I'm heading that way. I'll let him know when I'm crossing the border as to where we're supposed to be meeting him. He's dealing with Guinness right now. He was supposed to. I think he said he was going to try and cut his grass after he got off work, but he didn't say anything about whether he did that or not. That's what I wanted to do tomorrow. If I could find it on the website, though, I'll send it to you. It's cute. Equinox, you would like it. I know you would like it. It's at 2023, so it's still pretty new. It's probably at least turn in with that type of mileage, you know?
Yeah.
I have an electric one there too in the showroom Equinox, but it's a plug-in electric. It's not a hybrid. $40,000 for the thing for an Equinox.
Damn.
It only has a range of about 420 miles. Oh wow, what's this shit? Oh god. Resist fear. Freedom isn't free. Oh boo-hoo.
Yes.
God, we can't even win LG war. Oh Jesus. Fucking Ann Arbor for you. Fucking lefties, crazy motherfuckers. All right, baby, I love you. I'll keep you updated.
All right.
It won't be.
Yep, love you.
It won't be late tonight. Well, it won't even start until about 6:40. Either way, I love you, baby. Oh, this bridge too. Open the bridge. Oh, they're talking about the new bridge into Windsor. All right, babe. Love ya.
All right, love you. Bye.
We're in Florida.
Jacksonville.
Oh, nice. Well, thanks for calling into the Hannity program. What's on your mind?
I'd like to steer away from politics for just a minute, so I can talk about. I want to get you to talk about something that a lot of people probably don't know about you. Your days as a kicker with the BYU Cougars.
Oh, gosh. It's going to be a little while ago now, but it's true. I was the place kicker back in 88, 89. This is my junior, senior year. Was the freshman, sophomore year with Ty Detmer, who went on to win the Heisman Trophy. It was a great time. I'd like to remind the people of Utah that we never lost a game by the margin of my missed kicks. Otherwise, I'd be living in Arizona or Florida or somewhere else, but I couldn't live in Utah. But yeah, what a great way to go through college. When I left, I had 5 school records. They were all extra point records, which was much more of a testament to the quarterback than it was because we scored so many touchdowns back then. I mean, we just racked up the scores. Lavelle Edwards was the coach, and the one position on the field that would work for me is if they touched me, they threw a flag. And I thought, yeah, I could do that because I played a lot of soccer and I could kick a ball, and kicking it between those 2 posts, that seemed easy to me. And I loved it. It was a great time of my life.
Did I ask you what was the longest field goal you ever made?
So in the spring game, it was 53 yards. But I remember Lavelle Edwards, he said, listen, 35 yards and in, you cannot miss. You got to be 100%. 45 and out, yeah. You got to make about 75% of those. 50 and out, yeah, make half of those and you'll be good. So everybody always asks, what's your longest? I think the one I'm the most proud of is the consecutive streaks of extra points. And like I said, I set some school records there, so that was
I saw you a few times, but the only problem is here where I'm at in Florida, I didn't get to see you till like midnight when your games would come on here.
Yeah. Well, my best game is we beat the Colorado Buffaloes in the Freedom Bowl. I kicked 2 field goals in the last 4 minutes and 11 seconds. And who was named the most valuable player of the game? Ty Detmer. And I'm like, you get this big, huge trophy. You threw for no touchdowns. You didn't run for a touchdown. I had to come in because you threw 2 incomplete passes. I kicked 2 field goals, and we win by 3. And you're the most valuable player. Then he went on to win the Heisman Trophy. But as a kicker, you got to get used to it.
That's what it sounds like.
Jim, thank you for the question. I do appreciate it. And
why am I glad I spent that extra time cleaning the windshield at the gas station?
Let's go to line 4 and remind you the number 800-941-SEAN. 800-941-SEAN. Type it in on your phone. We'd love to hear from you. All right, we got Jeremy in Washington State. Jeremy, what's on your mind?
Hey, dude, that was just called. I'm just wondering why we don't encourage more people that are supporting the socialism cause to move to these big socialist cities and make a big socialist utopia, and then they could have the big voting blocks in their areas, and then we could have our whole area socialist free. I mean,
And my friends, thank you for being here. I hope the weekend is outstanding at the base and you're doing something fun, and you return here on Monday to join us to get into it again. Because we will be back. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that we need checks and balances in this election system. And I'm no fan of the federal government coming in and commandeering stuff from the states. But the states have been, in my opinion, openly missionary. They're running their elections in a way that is completely perverted. And when you start looking into them, they make it impossible to actually go and investigate these lists. It's all about privacy. They don't want to turn it over because I think it really is just a way to perpetuate their power. You control the list, you control the elections. There's
Right,
no
I agree with you. My beef has always been, they've extended the counting on all the elections up to 3 weeks now. This is not about when the ballots arrive. The counting is now legally allowed up to 3 weeks after that first week. And my argument is that's all fine and good for your dog catcher or sheriff election, but not for Congress. And they've stolen congressional seats, and I don't see why the Fed does not have standing in just congressional elections. Forget about what their rules are for, lieutenant governor. God bless them, who cares? But they have utilized this thing to literally steal congressional seats in the past 8 years out here. So I think they could. I'm asking you. I mean, can they narrow the focus of the legal angle of this thing to simply congressional elections?
At the current legal juncture we're at right now, the judges are saying no. Like the judges have invalidated it right now across the board. So both of those main components that I explained, the list creation and the USPS rule changes, have both been cut off, and the arguments are largely the same. They're saying that the federal government cannot interfere with state elections, and even if that includes the state electing people to federal office. And our response has always been, well, they're not. You guys can still go vote. You guys can still use your own list, reject the federal list if you want. There's no reason why you need to use that, and just go vote in person. Or use FedEx or use UPS to send your mail-in ballots.
No, I was going to ask you that about UPS. I mean, can the state get around this by utilizing UPS or FedEx to send out the same ballot? It would cost a fortune, but nevertheless, they don't really care about that.
Yeah, you can still govern your elections. You just can't. Or create your own election delivery service, right?
Right. Yeah, I jokingly said that the other day. They could have these union harvesters now to hand deliver these ballots to people.
You don't even need that. Amazon has an entire shipping mechanism through DoorDash drivers, Instacart. I mean, there's a million ways that they can outsource that kind of delivery mechanism. Amazon will ship.
Yeah, if they want to create a parallel system, I know the USPS has certain kind of exclusivity on mail, general mail, but there are other delivery systems that I think that they could create inside themselves, which I think would also just create more fraud internally, ultimately, because there's already concerns about that. We have the Supreme Court case that's going to be coming down maybe on Monday.
Let me ask you about Supreme Court cases, because you've been covering this. Where are we with these Supreme Court cases? Are they going to go past June this year? Are we going to get birthright citizenship this week? What is your opinion on where we are?
Before we go into that, Phil, go ahead. Before we get into that, I just want to jump in because we actually have a sponsor, and I want to take the opportunity to slide that in, and then we'll go to the next quick debrief with everyone here. Who's on Medicare? There's something that most people don't realize. The plan you pick might not be the plan that actually fits your life right now. Through all the noise, the mailers, the commercials, the robocalls, you feel daunted and even take another look. Your doctors change, your prescriptions change, plans update their coverage every year, and nobody's helping you keep up. That's why we're 20 folks to chapter. They make Medicare dead simple. One call, one advisor, you tell them your doctors, your subscriptions, what matters to you. They do the rest. They compare every plan available nationwide. Not a handful, every plan. And they come back to you with what actually fits. No pressure, no agenda. If your current plan is the right one, they'll tell you that. If it's not, they'll help you find one that fits better. Last year, folks found new plans with Chapter saving more than $1,000 on average. It's free. It won't take you more than 20 minutes. Good intel is crucial, so call Chapter today at 855-627-1487. Again, call today at 855-627-1487 to get the best information possible. And Chapter has been very good supporting us this month. As you can probably imagine, Robert, it helps a lot to have a sponsor. So I hope everybody considers giving them a call.
I agree.
Checking it out. You can save some money. And by the way, Robert, before we get into it, last time I talked to you, I don't know if you realize that you were Robert Grueller. You changed your name literally the week after the interview. So it's cool to talk to you again. And I guess you live in the East Coast now?
Yeah, we just moved out to DC. Yeah, so I changed my name because I'm really my mother's son, and I got assigned the wrong name at birth, but so I changed it over. And, you know, it's been a nice development for us. But yeah, we just moved out to DC. We've been here for about 3 months. My wife is pregnant. We got a baby coming in like 30 days. So we're on a little adventure out here for America's 250.
Wow, that's great. That's great. I was going to ask, oh yeah, we were talking about birthright citizenship.
Yeah, so Supreme Court stuff. I think we've got 8 cases left. So I think on Thursday we had 12 cases. We had 4 really big, 3 really big ones. One was about Monsanto, but there was another day scheduled on Monday. I don't think we're going to get all 8 of them. So we'll see if they also schedule something for Tuesday or Thursday next week. So that might kick us to July on the calendar. But I get through all next week. Like if we do another day of 4 and another 4, we might be done. And birthright is in there. There's birthright. There's another one about the election deadlines that you're talking about. It's Watson, which is about Alabama. Collect ballots 5 days after the election, and I think that's going to go our way too. There was a lot of very interesting questions during those oral arguments from Amy Coney Barrett and Judge Alito. Alito was saying, if it's 5 days, why don't we just make it 5 weeks or 5 months? Why don't we just whenever, and it's just done whenever you're satisfied or whatever. So I think there was a lot of skepticism about that, which means we might have a national federal election day that ends on a day. And you got to get your stuff in, and I hope that is the case because I think, like you mentioned, it opens the door for a lot of fraud.
What about birthright, Robert? What's your take on that? Are they waiting on that so they could stick us in the back, or?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I listened to those oral arguments, and I was not too thrilled about some of the questions that were coming out of the judges' mouths, and it's, I think, a shared opinion that it might not go our way. I was also at another event where they had a woman, and I forget her name, but she was amazing. She, I think, had clerked for Judge Gorsuch and maybe had worked for Scalia. She was, like Supreme Court guru. And she gave us a brief on it, and she did not sound optimistic about it based on what she heard at the oral argument. And I hope I'm wrong. I think that there can be some things that they latch onto. Like there's, of course, in the 14th Amendment, the phrase that we pay a lot of attention to is the subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And if you are subject to the jurisdiction of a nation, from our reading of the prior cases in Wong Kim Ark and these other precedent from 1898 and much earlier, it's about allegiance. It's about the sovereign recognizing that you're in the nation and that you are subjecting yourself to the sovereign's law. You're basically making yourself allegiant to the rules versus just being inside the jurisdiction, right? Subject to the jurisdiction. Sure, if you're here illegally, then you're in the jurisdiction. If you commit a crime, you're subject to the criminal charges. The laws all apply to you, but you have not shown allegiance or subjugation to the sovereign. You're not actually somebody who subjected yourself and gotten permission of the sovereign to be domiciled here, meaning there's no allegiance. And so you should not be able to exploit and get a benefit of your violation of the sovereign rights. And so that's how we've interpreted it. There was a case called Wong Kim Ark, where there were some non-citizens, Wong Kim Ark's parents, who were Chinese nationals. This was a case out in the West. And they were in the country, but they were here legally. They were lawful permanent residents when they had their child. And so from our interpretation of that precedent, right, that means that they had subjected themselves to the laws of the sovereign and were granted a right to be here. So they were more analogous to a green card holder. And their child, they found, had citizenship. That's a very different situation than somebody who breaks in illegally or reverse tourism cases.
Well, the Chinese, I mean, Peter Schweitzer's new book says there may be 10 to 15 million American citizens coming of voting age pretty soon who were Chinese, part of the Chinese birthing tourism.
It's crazy. There are literal clinics that are set up in Miami and other places around the country that market this.
Yeah,
literally,
you
come have your baby here.
Yep, there's an entire apartment building in Irvine, in Orange County, Robert, that just has apartments with women coming in 8 months pregnant from China.
They don't even have to go there. There's islands that are much closer to China, which is more convenient for travel. I think I forgot the name of one of them. Robert, maybe you could answer this. I'm curious. Isn't the whole problem because of the missing one word, stateless? And what I mean is the whole birthright citizenship problem occurred after slavery, from my understanding. You had all the people here, and suddenly, well, these were stateless people. They had no home. So to simplify, they're like, you know what? You're born here, boom, you're a citizen. But if they had said stateless, we wouldn't even have a problem now. Those people were stateless, so it made sense. And if that carried over to this time, then it would only be, I mean, a minuscule amount of people who could be considered stateless. Or am I completely off in my interpretation?
No, I think that's right. I don't know that that phrase came up specifically in the debates or in the case law, but that was a major concern during this era. So right after the Civil War, obviously, we had the Reconstruction Amendments, 13th, 14th, and 15th, eliminating slavery, 14th Amendment, which was also where the birthright citizenship clauses that kind of rewrote the rules, a lot of it to recover from the Civil War. Now, there's been an interesting phenomenon when it comes to citizenship in kind of the New World versus the Old World. So if you go back and look at Europe, they have citizenship that is connected to blood. So jus sanguinis is, I think, the Latin phrase for that, right? Jus sanguinis, which means connected to blood. And that means that if a parent is a citizen of the nation and you share the blood with that parent, then that is one of the criteria to become a citizen. Then we got to the New World and we had all this uncharted territory. We had all of this land, and many people did not have a state, as you mentioned. So it was this kind of stateless environment. So they did not want people to be stateless. So if you were actually in the United States and you didn't have a state in one of these South American territories, and you had a child, we don't want to create this entire group of people that have nowhere to go. So then we came up with jus soli, which is just basically a geographic region. And if you're born in the geography, that was good enough to be a member of the nation. And in early America, right, we had a lot of Native Americans, Indians that came up in this. Are they citizens? Are they not? There's a whole separate, analysis there on how that is all interpreted. And it kind of, in some ways, inched more towards jus soli, which was if you're just born geographically here, then you're here in America, you're a citizen, therefore you're not a stateless person. We didn't want these, huge groups of people that were not stateless. But then I would say after the Civil War, this is in the mid 1800s, the nation is developed. We've actually spread across the entire nation. So subject to the jurisdiction thereof was a modification of the original jus soli, which is place of birth, is all that governs, into more of an allegiance type of test that matches all of the other modern day European countries. Like none of them do this. None of them have the vast majority of them don't. I think there's maybe a handful of them that do. You just show up, plop a baby down, automatic citizen. You got to have lineage. You got to have a parent that shares blood of citizenship in order for that to count. So I think that truthfully it was a modification of that, but I'm not sure if the Supreme Court.
Are they going to split the baby on this thing somehow, Robert, to maybe end chain migration part of it? You know, like you get in, you can't bring every single person from Vietnam with you.
Yeah, and it's an interesting question. So I think there's also another, in the 14th Amendment, there's also, at the very end of the birthright citizenship clause, it says, in which they reside. The word reside is right in there. Mm-hmm. So there's a way I think the Supreme Court could, for example, say that if you're an illegal alien, somebody undocumented who is residing here, you have birthright citizenship. But if you're a birth tourist who is not residing here, you're just in here temporarily, you don't count, right? So you can kind of hang your hat on that and split it. Yeah. Not sure if they'll do that or not, but I think that might be one way to do it.
I mean, even if it doesn't,
it would take care of half the problem.
Yeah. Any improvements
people here more permanently, right, would have that right, even if you are here illegally, then they would just hang it on that second half. But part of what we saw, I think, this week were some really good immigration cases, which makes me a little bit nervous. So it's like the Supreme Court gives you the tools, like we saw in a couple of the cases. One of them was about TPS, so temporary protected status. The Supreme Court now saying that the executive branch has essentially sole discretion on when to end or start it. And this is all codified by Congress. Congress wrote in there, in the law that allows this to be a thing that we have, unfortunately, that the discretion lies with the Secretary of Homeland Security, ultimately with the president. So now the federal judges who are trying to block this can't do it. And they had done that. So, for example, with Haiti, what they said is that the how and the why of the decision by Kristi Noem to end TPS status for the Haitians, they could challenge that. There's this concept called judicial review, and the law that was passed for TPS said there is no judicial review of the determination of the secretary. So what the lower courts did is they got very sneaky about this, and they said, well, determination, we're just going to kind of bifurcate that out, and we're going to say that determination only means like the final decision, the yes or no, canceled or continued. So we can't override that, but in the process of determining, we can review that. That is now subject to our review, and we can find that your process of reaching the determination wasn't valid. And so there was a lower level judge who was Annis Reyes and others. And that's basically what they did with the Haitians. They said that Kristi Noem didn't do a thorough job of reaching the final answer. So the process of coming to the determination was invalid. She didn't
for sure.
agencies. She didn't get detailed reports from inside Haiti. How good is it? How bad is it? There were some racist comments that
100 years ago they couldn't imagine
or whatever that were actually under
things like what were happening under Biden. So where 20 million people came in.
A pause on the cancellation of the program, and the Supreme Court said that's not what the law says. The law said determination is both the final determination and how you got to the determination and the why you got to the determination, and it encompasses that whole thing. So we've seen this pattern where federal judges just substitute their judgment in for the presidency, basically usurping the will of the people as activists and accountable judges.
And honestly, back 100 years ago, in the 1920s, immigration was as strict as it's ever been. That's when they had Ellis Island and stuff like that, and you had to go through a complete physical and everything. You couldn't come in if you were pregnant unless you were already married to a citizen. Did you ever watch the series 1923, the Tyler Sheridan one, like the prequel to Yellowstone? The show Hurt, her trying to get over it.
back to the prior.
I mean, they were trying to make sure people weren't bringing diseases over, smallpox and stuff.
Yeah.
Tuberculosis. They were doing chest X-rays on everybody.
One thing we do, but when you're always ruling against your adopted country, it's a problem. It's really.
Ferdinand is literally a dual citizen with Trinidad and Tobago, a small island right in the Caribbean. And so you ask if she's a dual citizen, does she have allegiances to these other small countries that are all seeking to immigrate into the United States and get involved in the political process? And then she issues rulings that are essentially preventing our society from validating whether people are voting or actual citizens. So it's like a
there's a lot of them, and I noticed that Biden put them in at the end, who were from the Bahamas, who were from Caicos, Trinidad, and Tobago, and areas that are not Ukraine. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. I think we counted 5 or 8, from other
here. Yeah, in LA, there's a bunch of them here too. I mean, every time I look one up, they're from the Caribbean.
It's really odd. And then they come in, and then they're here for like 5 years, and then they lecture us about our Constitution and about separation of powers and about what America is and what it means to be American. And
I think we need legislation to expand the presidential birth requirement to other
federal.
Yeah, this is just out of control. We had a woman who may become the mayor of Los Angeles. We have a mayor in New York who was born in Uganda, who became a citizen in 2019. And now I have Nithya Raman here, who spent her entire life in India, and she's going to run Los Angeles. I mean, this is insane.
It
All federal elected offices.
Yep.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I think that we've also seen that I have questions about whether they were even honest in And so they have to put them in locations. And so they were basically renting out entire hotels, like hundreds of beds per hotel, filled them with illegal aliens. And one of those was, I think, the Roosevelt Hotel, like these iconic places that they're just putting these people into. And Mayor Adams, his chief of staff, was funneling contracts to certain people, in this case, Chinese nationals, who got these contracts, even though they were not entitled to them. There were already multiple hotels in that region, and they couldn't add another one because all the citizens were getting mad about it. But they funneled the contract to him anyway. So this Chinese national got $6.8 million in this long-term contract to rent out his hotel, and then kick back a bunch of money to Mayor Adams, chief of staff.
Right.
They're all getting rich off of this, and we are reimbursing them federal emergency funds. So federal money goes back to pay for the whole scam that they're all getting rich off of. So,
well, they did the same thing out here. Out here, they even, I'm in Hollywood. They bought the entire buildings with LA taxpayers' money. Their system that they've created here is to take as much LA taxpayers' money and funnel it to these NGOs run by their friends. This is after the city coffers are filled with their friends, salary-wise. You can't get any more in. So you spill it over to these NGOs. It's almost industrial complex, where they've been buying entire buildings, Robert, that are still empty, from landlords on some sort of weird backdoor deal, and that's taxpayer money.
Yeah, it's a racket. It's an illegal alien industrial complex that's built up to serve the power structure. Ultimately, I think some Republicans are okay with it. They want cheap workers. The Democrats want cheap voters. Everybody's claiming an emergency. The federal government is backfilling all these services. And then they create constituencies that are very powerful. I mean, you can see what happened in Minnesota with the Somalians and how they've
There's plenty of these Caribbean, neighborhoods in New York for years. Like I mentioned, the Haitians in Brooklyn and these pockets that are all over the country that are vote as a bloc. Let me just put
exactly. Yeah, and they became very effective, and they have almost no oversight. They're like billions of dollars of fraud, so they become rich off the back of the rest of the country, and then that money flows right back into the pockets of the politicians who cover for them, and then they elect Ilhan Omar, and then we all.
I was just going to ask you about Omar, because how many more years do we have to listen to her, supposed illegality without anybody doing anything, Robert?
Yeah, I'm tired of it. We keep hearing, oh, yeah, she definitely did this. Even Vance is saying, oh, yeah, she's doing never prosecution. It's like, shut up or purple.
Yeah, put up or shut up at this point, Robert.
Yeah, I feel that a lot, and I've got a lot of those complaints against a lot of the deep state apparatus that we have been covering for a long time here. And I don't know if we will. I don't know if they've got the stones to go charge a sitting congresswoman. I think that there's a lot of evidence of fraud there, and they went after
ask George Santos how it feels.
Right. Well, he's on the wrong side of the party, right? He's on the wrong side. So if you're part of the other side, you get some special protections. But yeah, when we saw what she did, she came out. I think she said they were worth like $30 million. Now they're worth like $200. And all the money just disappeared.
I mean, there seems to be no ethics committee any longer. I don't know who used to run. I haven't seen the ethics committee in 15 years.
Yeah.
Well, Blanche maybe do it. I mean, Mark and I were just talking about this on Tuesday. Admittedly, it seemed like Bondi was, spending all of her time at Fox at her anchor desk, but Blanche seems to be moving things forward a lot more. So
what's your take on Blanche, Robert?
Yeah, I think Blanche so far has been a little bit of a breath of fresh air. I mean, I think we've seen some more movement on things. One area that I think they've really jumped into is fraud, and with J.D. Vance kind of leading that, and then Todd Blanche going out and then going after the fraud basically everywhere. We've seen a lot of those busts, and I think Cash Patel just brought back some other dude from the Philippines, and there's billions of dollars of hospice fraud, Medicaid fraud. All the Learning Center stuff was being investigated, convictions for Amy Bach and others. So I think that's a good place to start. I don't know if it'll work its way up. Like, there was a lot of evidence that.
Well, that's low-hanging fruit, as you're well aware.
Yeah. So is Keith Ellison, the AG in Minnesota, going to work their way up the chain to him? I don't know. Tim Walz, are they going to get him? His office was approving all these things. Is Ilhan Omar, who's obviously a beneficiary of all of this fraud, going to be charged? I don't know if they'll go up that level. The thing I think that this might be cope, but I've been, keeping this in mind, is that these things take a while to develop. So if we just look back at the prosecutions of President Trump, those took years to actually develop and lead to something. And when Biden was leading those prosecutions, we did not see those until, I think, year 3 of his administration. So it's after the midterm. So he comes in, kind of sets up shop, and then by the time midterms happen, 2023 comes along, Trump gets indicted like back to back, all across the country, all of it organized out of the White House. So
yeah, it just came like out of the blue. It seemed to us. We didn't know that this was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, then they were working on it. The FBI
fuck,
was
dude?
working
Keeps
on
going
it. They appointed Jack Smith, and the FBI just gave him the case file. They pretended like he was some independent guy. They didn't. It was all being worked up. And then Letitia James, she was coordinating with the January 6th committee and the Biden White House, going and hanging out with them. The Alvin Bragg prosecution in New York, same story. They were all meeting back and forth. So it was all coming out of the White House, and they were just delegating it out. But the point is, it took some time. So if we just even apply that timeline to our timeline, we may not be seeing something until 2027, even late 2027.
What happened to the Letitia James?
Yeah, I'm heading there now. I'm only about 10 minutes away.
Or went?
Yeah, both of those got dismissed because they were charged in the Eastern District of Virginia, and that was Lindsay Halligan, who was appointed as the U.S. attorney who brought those prosecutions, and they said that she was unlawfully appointed, essentially.
Didn't they say the same to the woman who was in New Jersey, that she was unlawfully appointed, and they removed her as well?
Yeah, Alina Abba. Yeah, yeah. And I think, I'm not positive, but I think that they did appeal that, at least the Eastern District of Virginia one. I could be mistaken on that, but
I mean, this seems like a great weapon for a plutocracy, where they can simply remove prosecutors that they don't like.
Yeah, and the judges are happy to do it.
Yeah,
so
they seem overjoyed to do this. Yeah, you have to go back to where you came from. Get out of my courtroom.
Is it kind of the administration's fault, though, for appointing people who maybe don't hold up as well? If that makes sense. I mean, Halligan really didn't come across as the most influential, powerful legal scholar out there, or maybe I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, I think Lindsay Halligan's sharp, and I think she's got courage, and she was somebody who was willing to do this. I think the problem was Pam Bondi on that, quite frankly. I think that they could have solved this by just putting another attorney in the room with Lindsay Halligan.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And send Lindsay in because she was acting, send another attorney who was just a regular prosecutor, an assistant U.S. attorney, doesn't need to be Senate confirmed, doesn't need to be appointed or any of that. Just put them in the room together. So there are 2 attorneys who are there with the grand jury signing off on the indictment. So if Halligan gets invalidated, there's a backstop. There's somebody else there to back her up. But they didn't do that. And Pam, I got a lot of questions for her if I ever speak with her. But she, I think, almost set Lindsay out to, kind of dry, hung her out to dry, as they say. And she didn't have the resources that she needed to make this a real prosecution, even though she was the one person with the stones to actually indict.
Well, like the Comey document, it seemed so rushed that, what was it, a 2-page indictment, or like a page and a half, and it didn't feel really well put together.
And it was, they raced it because they were up against the statute of limitations. Like, again, Pam comes in, the whole thing is like delayed, nothing's happening. I think Trump probably starts complaining, like, what's going on? Where are these prosecutions? Where's, you're supposed to be delivering on this. We got all the Epstein saga up and down. That whole thing gets botched. So he starts asking what's going on. And so she races to throw something together, sends Lindsay Halligan out there, just go indict him, and chalks it up as a token victory.
Here's 10 things I'll do for Ohio. Slash your breath.
Sorry.
Before the SOL expires, and then, it gets dismissed, and now the SOL has expired. So I just looked it up, and they have appealed that, which is what I thought.
I thought so.
Yeah. So
speaking of SOL, what can happen with Anthony Fauci if he comes in under subpoena now and is asked questions under oath, and he purges himself now, Robert, in terms of both the auto pen pardon and also the statute of limitations.
Yeah, and I hope they do this because I think that there is an opening there. So
yeah,
if he comes in, I would suspect he doesn't answer anything. As
right.
a defense attorney, I think he just sits there the entire time and says, my lawyers advise me not to answer these questions, therefore I'm invoking my Fifth Amendment right. And just repeats that over and over. We kind of saw something similar with I think it was the Southern Poverty Law Center people.
I think it was Act Blue also. Act
yeah.
Blue. Yeah.
Help me understand that, Robert, because the Fifth Amendment was because of jeopardy. He had a pardon. So how is he going to have jeopardy if he's already been pardoned for whatever his actions were? I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah, I think it's a good argument. And there may be, some litigation around that. Like if that were happening in a criminal court, then I think you could make those arguments. But this is, this is Congress. And so I don't know that he would risk it. In other words, like
his ego is so enormous, he may not want to keep saying invoking the Fifth, Robert.
You're right. He may not. I hope he doesn't. I hope he comes clean and just talks and answer these questions. But if I'm his lawyer, I'm thinking you don't say a damn thing, man,
right.
because you do have the pardon. They're not going to charge you with, obstructing Congress or something. As far as because you show up for the subpoena, it's not going to be a Bannon or a Navarro situation. You show up there, you invoke your rights. It's a constitutional right. Congress is not going to override that. I think they could maybe make that argument to him, but we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he runs his mouth, and then we can catch him in something. But
what about the pardon, Robert? What about the auto pen thing? Is that contestable?
Well, I think he should be the one to have to defend it or to make the argument that it is valid. And if it is an auto pen and there's no chain of custody that is now in possession of the Trump administration, they can't show that Biden actually approved it, then I would think it's invalid based on its creation, right? It wasn't properly formed as a legitimate pardon. Now, I think Biden would come out and he would say, yeah, I did obviously pardon him. It came from me. And so he would kind of post-date it. He would backfill the validity of it. But Rand Paul's been making the argument that it's unconstitutionally and impermissibly vague. It's just too broad. It doesn't articulate the crimes. And so in its formation, it has problems. In substance, it has problems. And so, I would just like to see him charged, and then he could bring it into court.
That's what I thought. I've been saying the same thing. Yeah, charge away and let him,
How about there's 50 states? Could he be charged, let's say for all the victims in Texas, of COVID and Florida? Would that be a possibility? Because I don't think the pardon covers you on the state charge.
Yeah, I think that's another interesting angle. And I don't know exactly where he was residing or what he was doing or whether there's a jurisdictional nexus. Like if he went to an event and he said something that was inaccurate at an event, maybe you hit him with like a false advertising something, or you're like some sort of commerce type of crime. He's trying to sell something that isn't true. He's going and speaking at a college, telling everybody to get the vax. He's perverting somebody.
He admitted lying about the masks literally on television.
Yeah.
So not only that, those audio tapes that came out this week where he is literally working with Amazon and others to enforce a mandatory vaccine is terrifying.
Yeah, and I think if you could find a statute on that, then I think the pardon doesn't apply. Then you would need some aggressive attorney general, and our side just doesn't have as many people like this, or like a Fannie Willis or a Letitia
I've been saying that for years. Where
is our Fannie Willis? Where is our Letitia James to come in? And for Trump, I'm not saying make up charges, but they did that in New York. They actually were looking.
Where is Mark Elliott, Elias, or Norman Eisen, or used to be Lee Atwater for that matter?
Well, Eric Schmidt out of Missouri wasn't too bad, right?
All right, I'm going to raid this stream I'm listening to. It's got Gouveia on it, but it's not his
Yeah,
not
there's
his
a couple
stream,
of guys. But other than
I'm gonna
that,
go ahead and raid them now.
Robert's right.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, Schmidt was great, but he's a senator now. You know, he's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
He doesn't have that prosecutorial power. And
Thanks
so,
for hanging out,
where is
Exy.
the person to go and
Peace.
charge Fauci? I think they'd be a national hero
Oh,
and a
Florida.
major figure.
It could be Paxton, or it could be the guy in Florida. Yeah.
There's actually
Yeah.
spot there.
But you
He's
find
got a
some
strange
nexus, find some reason
wait,
he was
there's
in
no
your
parking
state,
here.
find
Oh,
a
fuck
crime,
me.
charge him with that. State pardon doesn't, the pardon doesn't apply to the state charges.
Wonder what they're doing there.
Again, we're
Somebody's
not talking
using
like
the park.
statute of limitations stuff. It's 26.
Well, if people die,
there.
if you can tie it to deaths that were involved, then the statute of limitations is no longer an issue, correct? If specific guidance he was giving led to death, wouldn't that eliminate the SOL?